Yes. So, I come from the old school exploiting days. I haven't been doing this stuff very much. I spend a lot of time sitting on video conferences or muted on teleconferences doing business crap. So, getting back into it. So, anyway, tools I'm going to be using. I'm a recent convert across to Binary Ninja, which, if you haven't seen it before, is pretty damn sweet. It's far less busy than IDA, which is good for a stream because people can see what you're doing. It does a decent job of reversing. It has an IL that I really like. If you haven't seen that stuff, it's like an intermediate language. So instead of dealing with just plain assembler or trying to reverse it back to C, it's like an in-between step where you might have a few functions that end up being condensed into one. Is it I? I, yeah. So you can see, like, you might have some, like a move and a sub or whatever. Instead, it's basically like an assignment structure for the stuff that Justin was doing the other day on his stream. To find this stuff is so much easier rather than going, so which variable was that? What did it do where? So, yeah. Rock and roll. I will be doing the exercises from Over the Wire. Oh, for those wondering who haven't seen it, the window manager and stuff, I'm using Linux. I'm running an Ubuntu desktop, and I'm using the i3 window manager, which it seems like everyone else is too, which is a bit weird. I hadn't seen much of it. The main reason I'm doing that is because I can, like, Windows can be, like, if I do Windows key V, Windows key Enter, I can split the window at the moment in half and get another window underneath it, so I can, start sort of like windows everywhere, and it's nice, and H to make something next to it. Can make new terminals and stuff nice and easy instead of forever dragging our windows and having things behind things, which is just annoying. So that's the main thinking behind that. Ooh, the music has weird typing and person noises. I thought I was somehow looping myself back, but I'm not. All right, rock and roll. All right. So, to get started, I'm going to have a bit of a crack at some of the over-the-wire Narnia puzzles, because they're not that hard. It's a difficulty of 2. I mean, if you do this stuff, don't get freaked out. Ooh, Colonial's got a black screen. It might just be catching up. I don't know. Let me know if it comes good. Okay, so yeah, like, it's easy for a war games thing, but don't think that means that it's necessarily like easy for everyone. Easy. There's a reasonable amount of assumed knowledge before you can do stuff like this. So I will log on, have a bit of a look around, and then I will go and start trying to set up an environment to use pwntools to go and do the stuff remotely. You can do this stuff locally as well, and that's pretty handy, but I want to get my pipeline down so I can write an exploit, have it go off and run it, pull my token back, and move on to the next step, because I'm going to try to get through these things fast rather than... Yeah, neat's good, but I particularly want to be able to do stuff fast. So, let us have a look-see. Oh, wow. The music has typing in it. That is the worst. Let's go to something else. There we go. All right. So... I guess what's going on. All right. Alright, logged in, nice and easy. I'm not really going to use anything local, but it's good to know what sort of box I'm running on. It's a 64-bit kernel on, it's a Linode kernel, so yeah, probably virtual machine. Good to know. It's probably a virtual machine would be my guess. It's a older Xeon. Yeah, this sort of stuff doesn't really tell you too much, but you don't want to be bashing away at a puzzle and then realise it's because it's on a different architecture or something odd. Alright, so I did have a little bit of a sneak peek at this. So there's 8 stages. They're all in /Narnia, so that's good to know. They provide the source code for this one, so I don't have to go reverse engineering stuff, which is always good. So if I run it, what does it all look like? Correct vals value from AAAA to OX dead beef. Okay, so here's my chance. 61, 61, 61, 61. So obviously, yeah, it's like it's just a very simple direct heap over. Stack overflow that's getting me to do. It is reading in 24 characters into buff. Buff is only 20 characters long. The value is 4 characters long, so therefore you can't override the EBP or anything to sort of regain control, but you don't need to, because it checks if you can make val equal dead beef, it will give you a system shell. Kick ass. Alright, so in order to do this, as I said, I want to sort of make it so it's a bit more automated, for want of a better term. So what I'll do is I'll fire up the old Sublime text. One thing I did earlier is I made sure I had a web browser installed. Obviously I don't usually log in to use a stream, so make sure that's installed. I already had Sublime text. I do have a license, but not on this user. And I installed Anaconda, which will just let me get some autocomplete action going on. Yeah, there's only 4 people on the stream. I'm not too worried about getting trolled. Well, we'll see. Like, there's 3 of you around. There might be one more that I don't know, but yeah, usually I do this stuff local. It's just something that I'm interested in. I think a lot of people don't automate this stuff as much as they could, so I just wanted to show some of the remote SSHing stuff in pwntools. Speaking of which, so make a directory for it. And I'm using, I'll do it in Python, I don't know, could go either way. I'll do it in Python 2, I guess. So virtualenv will make you a nice little virtual environment for your Python. So it'll use only the things inside the virtual environment, not the stuff in your regular one. It means that you can keep a different version, or if you come back to things, they'll be the way you left them, instead of upgrading something in the system that doesn't do what you want it to do. So, got virtualenv, I need to actually start it. Version 2.7 as expected. If I just start the interpreter, it'll tell me that it's. Yep. And if I go, yep. Okay, so I'm running local, nice and easy. Pip install pwntools. It'll take a moment. In the meantime, I will find my notes. Because it's a new user, nothing's cached, but it'll do its thing. It shouldn't take too long. Alright, so I have a virtual environment. It has pwntools in it. Just because I'm lazy, I will restart Sublime Text in this directory under the virtual environment, so I get all the nice stuff included, nice and easy. So, I'll just save that as oops, and all right, syntax highlighting kicked in. That's always good. I need to turn off the pep8 syntax at some point, but we'll bear with it for the time being. Cool. Import worked. Nice and easy. This window anymore, go away. Right. So yeah, I'm running Anaconda. I'll just quickly see how I turn off that pep8 syntax highlighting, because I don't really care how neat this is for the moment. I just want it to work. I'll just try not to make it bad. I don't even know what it's complaining about. Oh, import but unused. Alright, whatever. Don't care. So, basic stuff. Taking the example of someone else who I don't have their name to hand. Just putting the basics of what you're doing at the top of the file. So the host, the user, the name of the challenge, which is usually also the name of the user, at least in these cases, the password, and for this one it is just narnia0, password file where it lives, blah blah blah, where the binary lives. Alright, so we can do that. I haven't used pwntools much. I've done a couple of bits and pieces with it locally, but I had a bit of a play with it the other day, and yeah, okay. So I'm definitely connected, it's all fine. Rock and roll. I'll just refer to my cheat for this one, just to make it not awful, because I want to at least get one thing working while I'm streaming today. So, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Shell. We want to run the binary in question. And then we wish to, so once you run it, if you recall, probably might scroll back somewhere. Oh yeah, this is it. So it says, here is your chance. Nice and easy string to identify, because we want to wait until it says something until we respond to it. So yeah. Alright, so this crap. Shell binary. Then we don't care what the answer is, so we just store it in the underscore, which is just like a default variable. Save until, oops, clipboard, chance. Alright, and then, it is not, hang on. Here we go, filled it in. Info will do. I'll do that, and then I'll send. Oh, okay, well I want to construct a payload. Just, well, it's already full of A's. We'll go with lowercase a's, which should be OX61, because every lowercase is hexadecimal 20 more than uppercase. If I fill it to 22, then it should be like halfway through the variable, and we'll see that it should be 61, 61, 41, 41. Yeah, yep. So, it's cool. And then we go r.send the payload, and then we can go actually, what does it do when we win, or if we don't win? It comes up with a message telling us about. Oh, we get the buff and we get the val. So we need to eat those, or yeah, we can just sort of eat 2 lines, I guess. It just sort of depends on how you want to do it. So I can go like, if I knew what it was going to say, then I could just test that. But okay, let's just do this. Let's give this a spin. Yeah. I already bought it. Probably got at least 1 mistake still in there. Doesn't help that my editor regards everything as a mistake. Huh. And I managed to totally balk that. How odd. Okay. So, when I did the print of the payload, for some reason it never actually came through. I am going to just try doing it interactively. See how that goes. Okay. Got to end a file when reading in interactive. Alright, so I'll leave you way off or something. Yeah, I can probably just eat 1 buffer and it should maybe do it. Right, rock and roll. So, I probably want to... Oh, okay. Stupid thing. In Python, you have to use single quotes to represent a character. Receive line. Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay. So this should half overflow what we're wanting to overflow. Let's have a look. This is just like getting the basics together so I can restructure it to make it actually work the way it's supposed to work. Although, the fact that that payload still didn't appear. Alright. I'm going to go pip install... Ooh, you can't use Jupyter Notebook for this stuff. So, that's one thing that is actually incredibly annoying about pwntools that I haven't found an answer for. Because of the way that it does its own not proprietary custom terminal stuff, it means that you're not able to use it inside stuff that wraps it. So stuff like Python and IPython, which is now known as Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter or Jupyter Notebook. You can do all sorts of good stuff, but you can't do that with this. Yeah, like the thing that's really weird is, what do I do? Hang on. Did I goof the format? Is that all it was? Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. Okay, that was dumb. That was real dumb. Actually, I can just receive and then send. I don't need to... Probably. Oh, I want to look at these anyway. So... It'll give me a few lines. I can just receive everything. I'm not really that bad at computers, almost. Huh. Oh. Because no new line. That'll be it. And the 0 on the string copy overwrote one of the bytes, but I overwrote 2, so definitely on the right track. To do this, I'm supposed to. Right, so go. Okay. Yeah, a send line would have actually been the smart move. Thank you. If I had have got my editor working correctly, I would have had the auto-completes and life would have been much easier, but what can you do? Alright. So. Line. So, okay. A20. Now, I need to send dead beef. I can't just type dead beef, but there is, thankfully, the pack 32 helper included in pwntools. So that. Okay, but it's going to look like garbage if I do that. So, I don't know what the full is. Actually, doesn't really matter. It'll look. Okay. Oh, actually, no, I'll do it. I'll learn how to do it properly. Tools, print, hex. It will probably just give me a. Well, it shouldn't matter. It should give me a. A string representation of the binary, which will probably do the job. So, okay, I've got the UID of narnia1, so it worked. So that's cool. So then, usually with these puzzles, it's like, hang on, Demoing dash, narnia pars. Oh, yeah. I'm not in a working terminal. Alright. So. The password for. I dropped my permissions while I did that. Alright. Anyway. Alright, so that gives me the password. So, yep, as expected, nice and easy. Actually, that's already my thing, because I cribbed it from somewhere. Yep, okay, so there's a password location. So, rather than getting interactive, which I don't want to do, really what I want to do is go and, don't care about that. I want to go and I want to get the file, because, you know, that's where the stuff is. Just, it probably won't matter much. I'll just bring the time in because I want to put like a little delay just so I don't erase anything. And it's like time dot sleep 1, that'll do. that stuff is just going to mess me up, I think. Clear or clean? Clean, I think cleans the buffer. And then I need to get the file. So to do that, I can just go r.send line cat the location of the password. I think I've pass is a yeah, something like that. Alright, so nice and easy. Smart thing to do is probably to take that with open what I'll do is I'll just like write it to a file, and then that means that I can find it again. Oops. So just doing stuff like this doesn't take very long, but I personally find it really handy. Yeah, okay, thanks. Doesn't take long, but makes it a bit easier to skip between steps, because you can always read the password out of the file. You don't have to find where you put it if you come back to it after a while, because I'll be doing these, you know, in sessions, and I'll probably lose the passwords, and there you go. Oh, I'm just going to do it my way. Yeah, it'll work. I'm usually in Python 3, but I'm doing this in Python 2 because pwntools doesn't support Python 3. There is a Python 3 fork of it, but it's got some other stuff mixed in, Binjitsu, I think. And I'm just not like it looks fine, but like I just thought I'd go with the stuff where, you know, if I need to phone a friend, it's what everyone else is using, so it's a bit easier. I'm less likely to stumble over little syntactical things in the library that might have been missed. Oh, what I really should have done is change that. I won't bother running it all now, but I'll just put it on. Yeah, I'll do. Alright, so, cool, file replaced. Nice and easy. Then, if we're doing this stuff in a very generic way, to do, like, all of this, yeah. So really what we're trying to do in all of this is we're trying to get in. Yeah. Try and exploit it. And we want to just get the hell out. So, because when you turn these things into nice little functions. It makes it a lot easier to replace them. And then once you've done a couple of things, then you can work out what's generic and what's not. Pull it into a helper library, and then you've got a little catalogue of things that are like the other things you've done, instead of just copying and pasting from scripts. And when you improve something, you learn from it and use it again next time, instead of just leaving a trail of broken dead code around the place. That hello shouldn't be there. That hello should tell me what I'm actually solving, so I don't take one script that I shouldn't. Ah, global. Obviously, it would be sensible to be doing error checking, but all these things will throw exceptions, so I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Idiot. Alright. What I'll do is, I'll also... Yeah, it's a sensible way of doing it. So get in, and I'll pass it into exploit, and then that is it as well. So, probably should call it something other than R, but it's alright. Let's make sure it still works. Alright, magic. So, show you what we're doing here. And it'll do. I'm going to say put the time or the version or something in there. It's good if you're going back over your logs, you can find it again, but meh. Alright, easy. So that is step one. I'll quickly do step two, and then I think I'm going to finish because I'm absolutely wiped. So, level 1 password would be, and I'm probably going to goof this, I'll just check. Yeah, I'll say like print. I just read the whole thing because there's not really anything there. So, yeah. I don't know whether that had an extra line feed. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. That's not going to work. Nah. That, however, is exactly what I want when I'm exploiting stuff. So let me get this out of the way. Yep. Hex on one side. Bin representation on the other. Rock and roll. So, I don't remember why I wanted it now. Good to know. So, we've solved level... Oh, I wanted to see what was the new line was in the end of the file. Doesn't matter. All right. Password is open. It's the stupidest way of doing it. No, I'm not going to do that. I was going to just like take two off the other thing, but that'd be really like crazy. Oh man, now I am. Okay, I'm just going to take that and just check what I got. this one? No. I just want this level's... Oh. Oh, because it's the... Yeah. Alright. So, that works. Cool. It takes a couple of minutes to get right, but these things... Like, you do it once and use it every challenge you ever do, ever. Which, for me, is a pretty good investment. Well, yeah. Then again, I say that now, but yeah. Alright, so... That should be able to connect. Yeah. That's... It's good they do that stuff. It's also annoying as hell. I wish they had have used some sort of vaguely standard way of dealing with the terminal. Instead, they override a lot of stuff. So if you're using a terminal other than like a raw terminal to begin with, it just can't cope. It's a lot of... It's not even end curses. I don't know what it is, but yeah. All right. Well. Okay. What I want to do is I want to get in. I want to view the puzzle. Which is a lot like that. What that really is there is actually a get file on there. Actually, I'll use the proper way of doing it. There is a pwntools thing to get the file. We'll see if this works. Do you want to get it from... I'll go back in scope. I think. Yeah, I'll find out. .c, because all the C files are available for this stuff. So let's have a squeeze at that. I left exploit in. I didn't hook up the function. All right. Yeah, like, I reckon it's smart enough, but I guess we're soon going to find out. Oh, SSH channel doesn't have it. Oh, that's just sad. It's not some other way of doing it, is it? Oh, download data works on the shell, not the process. Oh, and it starts the process, because I think I'm using the old dumb one. I'm using shell.run is, according to the documentation, deprecated, and I should be using shell.system, which the documentation says... Oh, it's off screen. I should bring it on screen. Anyway, it says that it opens a new channel with a specific process inside. So you can either have a TTY for it or not. In most cases you do, but because it's a new channel in SSH, it means that my original shell is still open, which is the one I've got in shell, but it's making another channel. That's exactly the same mechanism if you've ever done SSH-D or -L to like port forward stuff around, or to use as a proxy to escape from a network. Same way of operating. But this is just opening a channel and using it to connect to a local shell. If you ever find yourself in an environment where you are prohibited from running commands in SSH, which is not uncommon, a lot of people do it wrong, and you can quite happily SSH in with the sorry you can't log in, and open yourself a channel that lets you pivot inside the network wherever it is, even though you can't run a command on the box. It's super neat. Alright, so. No. Oh, yes. You're absolutely correct, because I am in... Like, I'm not actually doing anything at the moment. You're absolutely correct. At this point, it works fine, because I've logged on as the new user, not as the old user. Okay. And it doesn't do anything with it, because I didn't print it, because I'm an idiot. But we'll see if it grabs it. Dude, we'll just drop it locally? It might. Oh, that is cool. Oh, hang on, no, it didn't. It downloaded it and just dropped it on the floor. I think there's an argument to tell it what I want it to do with it. Okay, I'll just tell it that I want it to save it somewhere. That's nice. With open... The really cool thing about streaming is I'm constantly talking to myself when I'm actually just doing stuff at home, and people think I'm talking to them, like if I'm just, you know, shouting at the computer. So now there's actually an audience. It sort of makes sense that I'm narrating my every action. It's a bit like a really crap version of Stanley Parable, if you ever played that. Right. I can hear Lou agreeing with me in the other room. It's weird also having the delay. I occasionally catch something that I've done 10 seconds ago occurring in the other window. I open the file, and then I take... oops. As file handle... My file name... The whole naming thing is obviously a complete war crime, but that's alright. Oh yeah, definitely, totally. I've been training for this moment my entire computer using life. My colleagues often mention that it's incredibly entertaining listening to me trying to find a file. I'm just like, is it over here? No. Is it over there? No. Alright. Victory. So, we have some C. Oh, the other thing with Paramiko is you get, like, caching and stuff, too. I don't know how it validates that cache, but for big files and stuff, it's really handy. There's also some other things. I'm going to drag this window off and so people know what I'm talking about. Come on, over here. Yep, one more. That'll do. Alright, so, when you are doing something like this, if you're Australian, such as myself, or Justin, or whoever, we are probably 200 or 300 milliseconds away from everyone, which if you've ever played a game with other people, you'll know is basically instant death. So it can be incredibly handy to pull files local. With binaries and stuff, download file, caching from Paramiko, all this stuff is cool. I believe libs. So this is something that you'll see a lot of the people who are really good at this stuff doing, even Americans. You might be say in this example with Narnia1, I'm pretty sure, like, I've got the ability to, I can read the binary, but it's a set user ID of the next level up, so that's cool. But like, if it's set user ID, being able to run being able to firstly install my tools on their end, pain in the ass. Secondly, like, it can sometimes with the set user ID and stuff, there'll be bits where you can't attach debuggers to it. It's a lot easier to pull a file local. If your environment differs from their environment, however, things like offsets are going to be quite different if you're just working with a binary from another Linux box. So you can do stuff like, this is libs command. What it basically does, what does it say? Yes, LDD. So you'll see a lot of people do this manually. I know people like Gerhots have little scripts that do this. So you run an LDD on the remote server. I'll talk about this. People probably haven't seen this before. It's a minor digression, but I'm sure it's fine. What's my password file? There we go. So, on Linux, okay. The way these things work, super user ID. When you do an ls-al, see the little s here. That is the suid bit. So that means that whichever user owns the file, in this case narnia1, it executes as that user. The second set of 3 means you can read and execute it as anyone in the group that it's in, and regular users can do absolutely nothing. Oh, you like the digressions? Sure, okay. So, on a Linux box, you got a file. We can just sort of look at some stuff in it. What's it all about? Oh man, did I use the wrong argument? Did they use the wrong argument? Alright. You can do something like objdump. Objdump will tell you things like the file format, like it's going to be an ELF32 because of the box it's on. Stuff like it has symbols. In this case, it doesn't really matter because we've got the source code, so who cares? This page, whatever. Starting address, yeah, basic stuff. I do a lot of malware reversing. This stuff is a little bit more relevant sometimes for malware guys. But anyway, so okay, people like digression. Well, am I the streamer for you? Well, dear viewer, you've got. I won't talk through all of this stuff. Half of it I'll probably get wrong and people will shout at me. Program headers. You got the headers that comes out of the ELF executable. Dynamic sections are very handy because they tell you what is implemented inside it. Version references are what do they call them? It's basically how you tie a binary to a particular version of a library. It's how you can have multiple versions of something like libc on a box and it pulls the right one. I can't remember what it's some sort of weird octal thing and does masks and it's all a bit weird. The sections, if you've ever opened IDA or anything like it, you will recognise some of these sections. These are sections in the PE, not all of them make it through to the executable, some of them are just used by the linker or whatever. When I'm hunting people, stuff like if they manage to leave versions and stuff in, it's relatively unique. I can tell you I can link people very easily based on things in the PE headers. You are relatively unique in the world, depending on what your environment's like. If you're running a full-on clean environment, then you're probably not. But if you build multiple files, even though they're very different files, there's characteristics of libraries and stuff that type very much to you, unless you're super up-to-date all the time. Symbols. This is the symbol table of all of the bits and pieces inside the binary. Anyway, that sort of stuff. Yes, so that for those on home, obj-dump-x. But the reason I mention that is because so you got external stuff you're using. There's not a whole lot in this one, but But LDD is effectively invoking the dynamic linker in Linux. So when you use an external library, you don't want to build everything with everything in it, which is the old a.out way of doing it. A modern Linux binary is dynamic, which means that you refer to libraries that are installed locally rather than including every bit of code you might ever possibly use. It also lets, as well as saving disk, it also lets you use less RAM because only one copy of the library is loaded, and you don't have to go and load it each time to end up with like the virtual space used. So LDD will show you the libraries that get dragged in. The gate is a relatively new contraption, relatively speaking. libc is the C library. LD Linux is the loader, which always will... Actually, not technically always will be there, but practically will always be there. Okay. Running LDD on an untrusted bin is dangerous, and the bin has a chance to execute. That's a good question. I mean... You could, if it's a standalone file, like... I mean, there might be tricks. There's probably tricks. But on a standalone file, I would say generally not. However, if they have other things with it as well, I think LDD has like... Yeah. Anyway, my voice is getting somewhat tired. I'm going to try and bash through this. So... This one, pretty easy. Get an environment called egg. It'll try and run the egg. It runs the egg. It returns. So this is basically, I have to write a basic Linux shellcode that, you know, does whatever I want it to, and then load it in the environment variable. Off it goes, it runs it. No real exploit, it's intentionally just a way to get people started with writing shellcode. Alright. Who wants us to write? Oh. Thank you. Alright. Show this. One moment. I am going to very quickly... Oh, anyone who uses Sublime Text and just does it in an ordinary way, if you install something called package control, you can go and install like packages like as a package manager, so it's nice and easy. I've uninstalled Anaconda. I will quit. Civil using dots, hope it's like a directory, and now I don't have... I'll just go that syntax highlighting because those little dots are annoying the crap out of me. Alright. We don't need to view the puzzle anymore. We got that. We do need to make some shellcode. Making a function. Don't need to make a function, but I mean, I'm probably going to add stuff at some point, so... That makes this a nice little... So, that will... pwn.asm... Oh, that returns the shellcode for the functions pointed to by the other thing. So I'll just go drop back to interactive and do this for a moment. What does it do? Oops. Say what? Hang on. Oh, yeah, okay. Radio. It's because I imported asterisks from it. Okay, so that gives me straight hex, which looks good. Youch. 530. Okay. That's pretty neat. So what it does, it's creating some NASM assembler. Yeah, I am your school now. Tell principal you quit. So the shellcraft is producing NASM assembler. Yeah, it's in school. I was like, yeah, went the whole way through school. I know a few people who left pretty early and then tried to learn the hard tech stuff, and you can, but unless someone like sits you there and makes you learn things like math, it gets real hard after a while to self-learn. Anyway, that's going to give me some stuff. Right. Egg. Return. Let's return that, because that is the symbol that I need. So, then, I need to set that as egg in the environment of the command I run. So, when I'm doing my tubes.sh, there will be something to specify it in the way it executes. Let's have a look-see. Oh, yeah, okay. That does make a lot of sense, using print instead of just using the standard by spitting it out. Thank you very much. You get a gold star from the teacher. Unfortunately, like most teachers, I'm not, in fact, one chapter ahead and don't have the teacher's guide in front of me. System. Alright, well. I mean, I could just set it on the shell, but I would like to have a bit more control. Hey, he gets an elephant stamp. You get a gold star. Everyone gets a trophy. That's fine. It's weird they have a getEnv, but not a setEnv. Anyway, what's it called? Process. It's a process on the remote server. This is execve. Cool. Environment variables to set this, the thing in env. So, let's have a look. I shouldn't have called it getting. I just got something else next time. Anyway, it's not the time for sort of. Usually, you want to, like anyone who finishes a project will realize what they would have done differently. You know, if they did it again. You don't really want to start refactoring if you're relatively early in the process of coming up with a tool chain for something. It's worth doing a few, and then you'll eventually realize what you reuse, what you don't, what's generic, what isn't. Go from there. Alright, so, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Oh, I can just run the process directly with the environment, so that's cool. There we go. And E will do. Yeah, and then I go, oops, I need R as well. Then I'm going to go R dot rows. The first argument being the binary, and then no. Yeah. Oops, S. Dot process. No. I should have called that S instead of shell. Gotta change it. Oh, if you use Sublime Text, if you select something and you press Control D, you call it to the next instance of it. Oops. I don't want all of them, I guess. Multi-cursor. I don't know whether you can see it on the stream, but I have 2 active cursors. I can do things with as many of them as I like. It is the real power of Sublime Text, otherwise you're just using it as an editor. I quite often use the tools from JetBrains. So Idea is the one to buy, but PyCharm and stuff are also good. If you buy Idea, it's a bit more expensive than the individual ones, but you get all of their tools, which is pretty damn neat. But they do all sorts of stuff out of the box. When I'm streaming, like you can see my load is like 2.5 something because I'm doing some pretty high res, so I probably wouldn't want to run a really super heavy Java based thing, but I could. And it would be a bit easier. I might try it next time and see how it runs. Alright, so... Why did I... Oh, because you set it in the thing. Yeah, I don't need to set this. Oop. So we get back a handle. Yeah, so... Okay. If you make a binary, it doesn't use the standard loader. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. I mean, if I was, and not that you're usually looking at these things, but if you look at a Linux binary and it doesn't use a standard loader, that's a pretty weird sign. But, I mean, it might happen more often because I don't look at it. I don't know. For all I know, the JRE does it. So, get me some shellcodes. So, run it with the environment. And then
latest feedback loop. Label podcast. My name's Alex, and over the next 45 minutes or so, we'll be taking a close look at
some guy's talking. No, he's not talking. Alright. This might work. I sort of lost my train of thought. We'll see. Haha, because I forgot to change those variables. Because I didn't make it a dict. Alright, but that looks close. Make all the eggs eggs. It works first time, every time, sometimes. So, yeah, for those who don't know, okay, ID shows you who you are on a machine. User ID, who you are. Group ID, the groups, your primary group you have. EU ID, effective user ID set by SUID binary, such as the one we had. So, I'm now effectively narnia2, not narnia1. And I also pick up their groups. Rock and roll. So, much like my prior exercise, I want to GTFO P. Yeah, I should have called it something standard. I should have called it R, or I need to fix my naming, obviously. It's a little bit all over the shop, but victory. Sorry, when you need to use set UID payloads. Oh, do you mean yes. Sorry, it's a thing on the disk. So ping, for instance, ping is set user ID of root because it needs to be able to run functionality that you can't run as an ordinary thing. It's one of those like don't do it yourself things if you're a sysadmin. A good proportion of the advice on Stack Overflow that will get you owned is like someone going, this thing doesn't work, it says permission denied, and someone saying, this is really easy to fix, just change the owner to root and set the super user ID bit. because, you know, like halting problem and stuff, we don't. There's no way of knowing exactly every path that an executable can take. The idea of setting something that's general purpose to super user is really rough. Oh, sorry. Yes, do it all the time. I misspoke. I recommend everyone sets everything to root and super user ID, and setting your directories to 777 means you don't have to worry about outages from wrong permissions, so you should also do that. Anyway, I has a file. So, it worked. So, I mean, we got code reuse there. The GTFO, without any changes or any customization, went and got the new thing. So, I was still cobbling the stuff together, but yeah, it's all working pretty well. On that note, it is almost 9 o'clock here, and you can probably hear my voice cracking. I'm reasonably happy with that. I got through 2 challenges. They weren't super hard challenges, but I was learning the... yeah. I could talk about... I might actually plan a digression next time, even talking about some of that stuff. Set cap and whatever are really quite interesting too, and C groups in Linux. Anyway, yeah, learning the tools, it's coming together. I have some functions that do things now in a fairly generic way. I did click the archive button. Thankfully, Justin flagged it before I got an hour and a half in. That, like, it's like, are you saving this? And it's like, oh shit. So I have a local copy. I have a Twitch archive, so I can upload it somewhere. So yes, fantastic. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad that there wasn't too many weird technical issues other than my own inability to type and read commands and stuff. Next time I'll probably have an IDE that does autocomplete, which should make things a little bit smoother and mean I don't have to keep switching over to docs on a different window to work out how to do things. So, yep, thank you very much, everyone, and yeah, I will probably aim for about this time again next week to do something else, probably continue from where I left off. So, yeah, thank you, and so long. Have a good weekend.